Okay. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. A very good morning to all of you. Second day of Living Planet Symposium 2025. Very good morning to everybody here in the audience, here at the AfSA Center in Vienna, and also online. Many followers we have online. And welcome to this plenary on breaking barriers by working together in earth science. As you may have seen from the program of the symposium, each day has its own overarching theme, and the theme of day 2 is precisely international collaboration. And that's why we have convened an exciting panel here today to discuss with you success stories, things that we have been able to achieve by working together, to celebrate those, and also perhaps to discuss the challenges that we have been facing, if there are barriers to international collaboration, and give you...
Good morning all. Please be informed that the plenary session, Breaking Barriers by Working Together in Earth Science, is starting now in OD level -2. In OD level -2. Everyone is very welcome to attend. Enjoy.
Thank you for that. No, I will not start again, because I believe you have heard me, and the people online have also heard and seen what I wanted to say so far. So we put together an exciting panel, which is here to my right, and we will be discussing with the panelists the topics that I just mentioned. So why we work together, the type of collaborations that we have, what we are aiming to achieve also strategically in all of this, and as I said, discuss, if possible, in this debate between the panelists, also the challenges that we are facing in this domain. So, but before we get to the questions of all our panelists and to the introduction of the panelists, I'd like to give the floor to Simonetta Kelly to give introductory remarks, also on behalf of the Directorate of Earth Observation. Simonetta, please.
Thank you, Rune. Good morning to everybody, and a special welcome to our international guests and partners. Today, this session is a session on international collaboration, and we really have devoted one of the days of the Living Planet Symposium to the topic of international collaboration. International collaboration is in the DNA of what we do in Earth observation at ESA, but it's also really in the DNA of what Earth observation is, because since the early days, we've been always working first among ESA member states in a very close collaboration with them, but then also in collaboration with partners bilaterally and multilaterally. And here we have the privilege to have all our, I would say, bilateral and multilateral partners, and also representative for international organizations that we're working with. Of course, climate and environment are topics, and also sustainability, where really the support, the relevance, the strategic need to use Earth observation data is clear, and has been clear from the start. I must say, initially in the international domain, where I worked at ESA in the late 80s, early 90s, we had started international collaboration with the aim to somehow support the implementation of our missions. We had a lot of collaborations with Thailand. I just signed an agreement this morning with GISTDA, who is also here, to acquire data from ERS-1, for example. So we didn't have the capability on board the satellites, so we had a really strong network of collaboration to complement, support the implementation of our mission. Then, more recently, we have also developed joint missions with partners. We have here JAXA. EarthCare was presented yesterday, and I'm sure will be further presented today, with instrument on board provided by JAXA in a very strong leading mission, I would say, an explorer mission supporting all the role that cloud and aerosols play in sun radiation and the filtering of that. We have a strong collaboration with other partners here represented. Of course, NASA, we've been working on earth sciences with NASA for decades. We have an earth science MOU, which is somehow confirming that. CalVal campaigns, airborne campaigns, data exchange, platform development. So not just missions like Sentinel-6 with an altimetry on board that was developed also with the collaboration with France, with the Commission, and with EUMETSAT. These are all examples really of the success story of our international collaboration. But I think we really need to enhance it. We really need to further develop it. There are strengthening collaborations planned with the African continent, with the new African Space Agency. We have strong relation now with the Southeast Asian and Latin America through also the IMPA arrangement. You'll hear all about it. And just to say, we strongly believe in the dimension of international collaboration in space in general, but particularly if you look at domains like climate, the climate variables have to be supported by data sets from all available missions. Everything that's related to long-term preservation of data, we need to make sure that the data sets are available to everybody. And the free and open data policy of ESA, I think, has helped a lot to enhance this collaboration, even to have exploitation of those data sets by countries who haven't invested into the system initially, but who are really beneficiary and who have worked on application. Same for the UN context. We have the Sustainable Development Goals. The UN is here represented. We were at the forefront, and really in 2015, in October, when this was all started on SDGs, supporting the UN in terms of showing and assessing the relevance of the use of EO data and support those 17 SDG. Most of the SDGs can be supported with EO data. And again, an example of international dimension and collaboration. We look forward to hear from our partners. We really would like to say that even in this context of geopolitical context evolution, in ESA transformation, in next challenges ahead, we really pay a lot of attention, and for me personally, it's a big priority, the international collaboration dimension of our work, of your work, and I think it's very relevant, even possibly more relevant today and tomorrow, and really looking forward to hear from you all. Thanks a lot.
So I do not, oh, finally, yes, very good. Thank you to Simonetta Kelly. Now I can also introduce myself. My name is Rune Flubaghagen. I am the head of Climate Action, Sustainability and Science in her directorate, and together with my colleague Marie-Claire Greening, we have the pleasure of convening this plenary. Now, I would like to introduce to you the panelists before we get to the questions. And actually, I'm not sure if you have understood, but there is a seating order here which is going by the alphabetical order of the host organization, so the organization to which the people belong. And that's why we start with the representative of the African Space Agency, His Excellency Dr. Tidiane Ouattara, who is the president of the Council of the newly established African Space Agency. Tidiane, very warm welcome to you.
Okay, thank you.
Then we have, I'm not sure this is working very well. Then we have Dr. Paul Bate. Dr. Paul Bate, he is the CEO of the UK Space Agency, and he is also here because he is the 2025 chair of the Committee on Earth Observation Satellites. So, Paul, welcome. Then we have from the Geoinformatics and Space Technology Development Agency, GISTDA of Thailand, Dr. Kandasri Limpakom, welcome. And as Simonetta just said, we are happy to have signed an agreement with GISTDA only this morning, so we are also moving forward with international collaboration in this sense. To my right, Dr. Christian Feichtinger. He is the Executive Director of the International Astronautical Federation. Christian, welcome. To my immediate left, Hiro Maejima. Hiro is the Senior Chief Executive Officer of Earth Observation Missions at the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. Welcome. Then she needs no introduction, Dr. Karen Germain. She is the Director of the Earth Science Division at NASA. Then we have from the Philippine Space Agency, Dr. Ariel Blanco. And last but not least, representing the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, Dr. Lorant Czaran. So the way that we have organized this is that we have one introductory question to all, for which we would like to hear all your perspectives, and then hopefully we will have a debate when we go into a little bit more detail of the topics that we would like to address. So, Tidiane, Ouattara, I'd like to start with you. How important are international partnerships to the African Space Agency? What is the main goal and scope of your collaborations with the other organizations?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say that space by its nature requires collaboration, because no one, no institution, no country can afford all the streams of space. Secondly, space is a common goal, and sharing the common goal requires also that we talk to each other, partnership, collaboration. Third, the African Space Agency is an independent organ of the African Union, which is an intergovernmental body made up of 55 countries. Therefore, we are talking about collaboration. Now, international for us, it can be intra-Africa, meaning among the 55 countries, but also out of Africa, where we usually underline international. Why it is important for us? We have to learn from others because we are relatively new. The best practices, sharing knowledge, and also sharing with others what we know about Africa when we come specifically about Earth observation in terms of applications and indigenous knowledge, lessons learned over the 50 years of collaboration, because yes, we are relatively new, but in terms of Earth observation, we are not also new as new. Therefore, it is mandatory for us, on behalf of our 55 countries, to open the door in alignment with the Agenda 2063, which requires that Africa collaborate with everybody. This is why we are really greeting the European Space Agency for the MOU we have signed during the inauguration of the African Space Agency. It is our first official agreement. Many other agreements are coming. Africa is open. Africa wants to use space as an opportunity for an integrated Africa, prosperous Africa, and peaceful Africa. And it is possible, and collaboration, it is not only transactional. Collaboration, international collaboration, can be strategic partnership, can be thinking together with respect to some global issues, climate change, disaster risk reductions. I will stop there. But at the scientific level, let's share knowledge, let's work together to be more stronger. This is, in a nutshell, what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very clear message. Paul, from the perspective of the Committee on Earth Observation Satellites, obviously you are coordinating a lot across the entire, well, the worldwide landscape. What would you like to say to this first question?
Well, firstly, thank you for finding your way down to the -2 level to be here and to listen to us. There are many reasons why it makes sense to collaborate. Tidiane highlighted some of the most important. For me, one rises above all others, which is that when it comes to science, international collaboration works. It happens to confer great geopolitical benefit, relationship benefit, inspirational benefit. But fundamentally, over the course of centuries, whether it is earth sciences, fundamental particle physics discoveries, number theory and mathematics, collaboration works, and the absence of collaboration is what leads to the darkness and to the inaccuracies. The scientific method does not respect countries. The scientific method respects empiricism and data. So from the point of view of the Committee of Earth Observation Satellites, which is 67 agencies and other organizations, we seek to bring together that community. We seek to avoid duplication, avoid fragmentation, and enhance cooperation. Because providing the data that our scientists can use is a high fixed asset business. It costs money to bring the satellites up, to get the data, and to bring it down. So it's extremely important that we avoid duplication and that we coordinate well. What I think is the good news collectively for us in the room here and across the community is that we build and have built an exceptional platform for Earth science. Landsat, Copernicus, we've seen EarthCare launch, biomass, so forth. We can name the missions. We know that we're in a world that we've never had this level of data that our global scientific community can now analyze. It's our job to continue on that path, but we build on incredible foundations. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Paul. So, Kandasri, GISTDA and Thailand is a relatively new partner for us here in Europe. How important are international collaborations for you and for your country?
Okay, thank you. Actually, if we don't have any partnership, we wouldn't be GISTDA as of today. We start our satellite operation back then, like several years ago, with partnership with ESA, like Simonette said already. We have receiving ERS-1 satellite, also from JAXA, and several partnerships with Earth Observation Service. So it's very important already that we could have help from many partnerships in order to enhance our capacity, Thailand capacity, in developing space technology and informatics technology in order to address the challenges that we have in our nation and also in the region. The partnership that we have, first we starting with the exchange of data, sharing the data, and also having the expert to help us on utilizing the data. Because I think if we don't have many expertise here around the globe, the accelerating of the advance in technology and also in advance of utilization of satellite data would not be this far. I think the acceleration comes from the partnerships. And also we strengthen our human resource in Thailand and also regionally through the partnership as well. So, and also the response to disaster and extreme event also come from partnership. So I think everything already say itself that, okay, partnership is very important. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Christian, you represent an international organization, so international collaboration is by default your DNA. So I'm going to ask you a twist of this question. So what are really the main scopes and goals of the collaborations that you foster?
Well, first of all, let me thank the European Space Agency for having invited the International Astronautical Federation to be part of this panel. In order to enable international collaboration and partnerships, you need platforms that allow people to meet, to get to know each other, that will then gradually lead to setting up partnerships and cooperation. And the International Astronautical Federation is such a unique platform for international cooperation where every voice can be heard. We are a very traditional organization. We've been created in 1951 during the times of the Cold War, where the East and the West specialists, scientists, engineers, they couldn't meet, they couldn't talk openly about what they were doing. And by creating such a platform, it was all of a sudden possible in an international, multilateral, neutral setting to meet and to exchange. And what was created in 1951 by just 10 societies has developed today to a network of 563 member organizations from 81 countries, and this includes all space agencies, major industries, organizations, associations, and actually all my colleagues sitting up here are representing organizations that are a member of the International Astronautical Federation. Our motto is connecting all space people, and we bring this to life in our events, and the most important one is certainly the annual International Astronautical Congress that brings together a global space community in different places of the world. But we are doing also global conferences, themed conferences, and Earth observation is always one of the most important topics which we are focusing. But there is one thing which I would like to still mention. Diversity and inclusiveness is one of the main focus of the Federation, and that means that we want to embrace everyone, especially also emerging space countries, to be part of the space debate and be part of the communication and the community. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now, Hiro, from the point of view of JAXA, we have historic collaboration, we have done complex missions together, and we have bold plans for the future. But still, the same question goes to you. What is really the main scope and goal of international collaboration seen from the perspective of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency?
Okay. So first of all, I'm pleased to be here and discuss with you all. So it is very happy for me. And JAXA launched our first Earth observation satellite in 1987. It is a long time ago. And we have developed and operated the many Earth observation missions, Earth observation satellites, and now the 8 satellites for the Earth observation in operation. And I'm happy to announce here that we officially announced that our next Earth observation mission, called the GOSAT GW, will be launched on 29th of June. It is next week.
Very good.
Very good. Thank you very much. The GOSAT GW will observe the greenhouse gases and the water cycle. So it is the successor of our GOSAT series and the GCOM W series. So we will more contribute to the global issues for the Earth monitoring systems. Thank you very much. So your question about the international cooperation, and for JAXA, international cooperation is very essential and the natural aspect. So we developed the large-scale and the small-scale missions, but each of missions requires international cooperation. So for example, we developed the spacecraft systems. We need the international cooperation, and we proceed the analysis and application development. We need the international cooperation. So the cooperative. And so the international cooperation is, enable us to develop the large-scale Earth observation missions. It is tackled to the global issues. And we can generate some synergy between the exchanging our knowledge and our observation data. So the international cooperation is the essential for us.
Thank you very much. Now to you, Karen. As Simonetta said, we have a long-standing, decades-long collaboration together. We have been working together on calibration, validation, mission science in general, system science. So obviously we have come a long way, and hopefully we are also going to go a long way into the future. So if you look at the types of collaboration that we do, whether they are in order to maximize the benefit from, let's say, the investment of the public sector, or also strategically in long term, how do you see these things? How do you see the goals and the scopes of international collaboration evolving?
Well, thank you very much. And on behalf of those of us at the end of the alphabet, it's really tough to come up with new things to say after all of these brilliant opening comments. I want to just start briefly on a personal note. I think it was Simonetta, you said this is in our DNA, or maybe it was Rune, I'm not sure. And that's true. You know, as a graduate student, one of the first missions I worked on was the calibration of Topex Poseidon. And the first field work I did was on the Polarstern, the German icebreaker. So it is in the DNA of what we do, because it's a global undertaking. But institutionally, international partnership infuses everything we do. And you mentioned some of the really important aspects from our global network of ground observations that underpin what we can do from space, to the field campaigns and the scientific investigations, to the missions, which is what many people think about when they think about international collaboration. And I want to pull on one of the earliest comments, this transactional versus strategic partnership. There's nothing wrong with transactional partnerships. Sharing, those are really about resources. And much of what we do requires us to share resources. But these strategic partnerships are really the key to the successes we've seen over decades. This is where we are sharing our resources, but also our ideas, our aspirations. It is, these strategic partnerships are how we find ourselves in this moment, in a golden age. We saw the first data from EarthCare earlier today. We have SWOT data that is showing us the oceans as we've never understood them before. Soon, I'll just refer to another NASA mission. We, in partnership with India, we'll be launching the NISAR mission, which will show us movement, change in the Earth's surface that we've never seen before. We find ourselves in this golden age because of these strategic partnerships that have sustained over decades, and the institutions that are joining along the way, right throughout. So these strategic partnerships, they get us to the golden age, and they also sustain us through the challenges. And we've had many of those over those decades in the past, and we'll continue to have challenges and overcome them as we look to the future.
Thank you very much. And I promise, Karen, that we will reverse the order. Okay, so Ariel, same question goes a little bit to you as to your colleague from Thailand. You are a new partner somehow for us also in this business. From the point of view of the Philippine Space Agency, how do you see all this?
Yeah, the Philippine Space Agency was established in 2019. As such, very young agency. We need a lot of help and assistance and collaboration from international partners. We have seen this through collaborations with Japan, with US, and of course the European Space Agency, or the European Commission in general. Value creation is a core of the mission of the Philippine Space Agency, and we cannot wait to have that value. We have to derive value from space observation. We have to derive protection from space observation in terms of disaster risk reduction and management, in terms of monitoring of our environment. And we have to learn a lot from the different experiences and knowledge and expertise of the different organizations. And to cap it off, maybe I can say that international collaboration is one of the core pillars or the key development areas in the Philippines, of the Philippine Space Agency. And we work together to achieve that value and make sure that the values and benefits are realized, not only by the Philippine Space Agency, but it permeates towards the Filipino community and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Laurent, you represent the United Nations here. Nothing can be more international than the UN, I guess. And we have a UN COPUOS conference going on here in the building next door. From the perspective of UNOOSA, so what are the scopes and the goals of your collaborations with others?
Thank you. And just to say, I really don't mind being the last one to speak on the panel, starting with you, but it's the word united, so I think that's important. We, as you mentioned, one of our core mandates as an office within the United Nations is to convene member states, to be the secretariat of that Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, COPUOS, that is indeed starting to meet this week just across the street. It is one of the largest committees of the United Nations, in fact. It might be a surprise to some of you. We are 104 member states. Currently, I think by next week we will be 105, and we also expect in the next few years to have another 20 member states join the committee. So there's a strong interest in activities in outer space in general, and our role is to bring countries together to encourage that international collaboration in the context of a committee of the United Nations. But then there's also the implementation of various mandates. The Program on Space Applications was established by the UN General Assembly in 1972, and this was meant to bring the space capacity, space technology, and especially space data, Earth observation data, to the users, bring it closer to the countries, to the users in the countries. And as one of the smallest offices in the UN, we cannot do that alone. So over the years, working together with CEOs, working together with GEO more recently, being helped and assisted a lot by ESA, at least since the 90s, with a lot of contributions to have our workshops and capacity building events stronger and larger in a way. We could have not done what we have done together otherwise. So we reached a lot more users, we reached a lot more countries, a lot more people around the world through these partnerships, through collaboration. And I also want to give a very concrete example. I think I worked 30 years in the UN, but to me this is still the best example. Managing the UN Spider program within the office, which is a program dedicated to disaster management and space technology. When the General Assembly established it in 2006, they said, UNOOSA, go ahead and do it, but we don't have any resources for you. So they said, go and partner, go and find centers of excellence around the world that can help you. And these organizations, these institutions responded to the call. We have now 31 or so regional support offices around the world who voluntarily came together to support the implementation of that mandate. There are space agencies, universities, centers of excellence, RCMRD, Kenya, ISIMOD in Nepal, others, who are doing this with us on a voluntary basis because they all consider this partnership as important. And finally, I would say, because Simonetta mentioned the SDGs, and that's our core focus within the UN and for all member states for the next few years to come, and since 2015, when the SDGs were established by the same UN General Assembly, the last one, number 17, is about partnerships. So, because even the member states of the UN, all 193 of them, realized that without partnerships, without working together, a lot less will be achieved. So I think I stopped there, but I hope that.
Thank you. We'll get back to you also later. Thank you very much, Laurent. So we are now moving to a part of this plenary where I hope also there will be interaction, that the panel members will jump in and react to what is being said by the others. So this is the challenge here. And the question, I'm going to pose it to the newer collaborations that we have. So I'm going to start with you, Kandasri. So with which multilateral fora does GISTDA work and engage? And which do you think are the most successful in and effective in meeting your priorities within Earth observation?
Okay, thank you. Actually, GISTDA, we participate in many multilateral forums, for example, like ASEAN Science Committee, site Sentinel Asia from initiative of JAXA to respond to the disaster, and also global forum, for example, like Committee on Earth Observation, CEORS. So I think each partnership or our participation in multilateral forum has its unique, the strategic purpose. So I say every forum is important. But if I would have to give an example of the effective one, actually in today's world, the issue is not just for one country. So I think the important thing that we have to do is to try to build our regional capacity. So we have the partnership with SCAP, UN SCAP, in order to help our regional countries, for example, like Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, to build their capacity on utilizing the Earth observation. I think this one would be the most effective one because we continuously doing so every year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think it is opportune to say at this point that the way that we are collaborating more with the ASEAN region is, and the way that that collaboration is increasing is one way that we can use to support all of this. Now, Ariel, from the point of view of the Philippines, what do you think? Do you have similar views?
For the Philippine Space Agency, we consider at least 3 main fora that are very instrumental in advancing our objectives in terms of SSTA. I think we can mention that the UN Corpus is a very good platform because it encompasses not only technical but also legal and other aspects of space science and technology and policy. And of course, this year we are hosting the APRSAF, the Asia Pacific Remote Space Agency Forum, and it's led by JAXA, and it's collaborating with JAXA for many years. And it's a good opportunity to discuss technical developments in different aspects. I will be co-chairing, for example, the Space Applications Working Group with my Japanese counterpart. And there will be a lot of activities and side events. And on top of that, there will be an effort to put together or have a dialogue with different ASEAN leaders to come up with an agreement. And last but not the least, going no further, is the Living Planet Symposium is a good avenue. I understand that this became like it evolved from an academic forum to a forum that encompasses different aspects. And we would like to see maybe Living Planet Symposium Asia edition that can be hosted by the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, if you look at the type of partnerships, Czaran was talking about transactional versus strategic, but we also can distinguish collaborations as being bilateral, so between 2 parties, or also multilateral. And the next question that I have for the panel, and I'm going to start with you, Hiro.
Yes.
Basically, how important are the multilateral type of collaborations versus the bilateral ones? What do you get the most out of?
Right. So the multilateral collaboration is very important. And for example, we developed some data format using among the multilateral collaborations. So this enable all people can easily use the data. And let me introduce about the CEOs and the GEO activities. For the GEO activities, one of the activity of GEO is the Global Forest Observation Initiative. It is called the GFOI. And it is target is the forest conservation. And today, over 70 organizations are working under GFOI. And we, JAXA, contribute using our L-band SAR data. And we are now contributing to develop the methods and the guidance documentations. So we say the MGD. And the MGD is a very important activity. And the multilateral cooperation will make the MGD, and this expand to the community all over the world. So it is one of the contribution of the GEO. And another important thing is the multilateral collaboration make the one voice. It is a very important thing. So the one voice will influences rule-making bodies. So, for example, in the 2006 IPCC guidelines, in the IPCC guidelines, the satellite data was not recognized as the tool for the estimating the greenhouse gas emissions. But space agencies working together and improve the accuracy of the GHG emissions estimating. And finally, in the 2019 refinement of the IPCC guidelines, the satellite data was officially incorporated as a reference data source. So it is the outcome of our multilateral collaborations. And the other thing, I'd like to introduce the CEOS activity. So the CEOS is led by the UK. And our JAXA now serve as the CEOS SIT chair. SIT is the strategic implementation team. So we JAXA set the two initiatives. One is the impact of the Earth observation data on climate policy, and the other is the coordination with greenhouse gas observations. So the CEOS is the international multilateral collaboration team. So we contribute for the CEOS and to expand to the worldwide and for the application of the spacecraft data. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, turning to the youngest pan-continental space agency, AfSA was inaugurated just slightly more than 2 months ago. Tidiane, how important are multilateral partnerships versus the bilaterals? How do you see this?
Yeah, thank you. As the baby of the game, I would say both are equally important. It is about the strategic approach. For an intergovernmental body like us, sometimes you have multilateral in bilateral and bilateral in multilateral. Let me explain that to you. The MOU we've signed with ESA, the European Space Agency, is made of many countries. African Union Space Agency, I would say, is made up of 55 countries. If our MOU will help us, for example, to ask UK to work with Nigeria on a specific, this bilateral is coming from our international or multilateral. Therefore, we have to position ourselves depending on the objectives we want to reach. Therefore, the multilateral can be the mechanism at that time to handle it, or the bilateral. In a nutshell, both are equally important. I will give you some examples. To establish the African Space Agency, it was a process for us. Why it was a process? Because we had to convince, to create a kind of awareness at the head of state and government level through our established channels. Therefore, thanks to the support from the European Commission, with the technical support from UMETSAT, ESA, and GRC, the Joint Research Center, we developed what we call the GMS, Global Monitoring for Environment Security Project, for the continent. It involved 45 African countries, more than 170 institutions. And the applications were on the wetlands. It was on the sea, oceans, weather. We had the oil spills, many kind of applications to demonstrate the use or the benefit from the space. This, we see it as an international. You call it multilateral or bilateral, depending on what is there. This is why it's sometimes very difficult for us to say that. But bottom line, we can say through this program, we trained 10,000 African students from different countries. Therefore, within this agreement of GMS, we had a bilateral agreement with UMETSAT. Thanks to GMS, UMETSAT was there, but with UMETSAT, we were working through this bilateral agreement on many other matters. This is why I'm saying, for us, multilateral, bilateral are very important. All depend on your strategic approach with respect to the goals and objectives you want to.
It's very clear. Thank you very much. Now, Christian, your organization is a bit older than the African Space Agency. So what is your perspective here?
Well, first of all, I would fully agree with Tidiane. Of course, any type of cooperation and partnership, being bilateral, trilateral, multilateral, has its merits. And this is important as space is global today. And of course, the International Astronautical Federation, you can see it as a multilateral partnership, bringing together 563 member organizations from 81 countries. Just to mention one recent success stories, we've at our recent International Astronautical Congress in Milan last year, we were able to bring together 60 heads of space agencies and space offices from all across the globe to sit around one round table and discuss the importance of space contribution to sustainability on Earth. I mean, this is a very strong signal that the space community is eager to work together. However, and I would like to kind of refocus a bit from multilateral cooperation to multi-stakeholder cooperation, because it is so important that we are, of course, within the space community, you have the government sector, you have the industry, the commercial sector, you have the associations that is kind of bringing together enthusiasts, volunteers. But it is very important also to engage and include and cooperate with political decision makers. We are every year at the IEC organizing dedicated meeting for ministers and members of parliaments in order to give them all the information why space is important, to take, to allow them to take informed decisions. But we should not stay even within the space community as a bubble. We need to enlarge, we need to reach out to the non-space sector, even to the general public, because at the end they are providing the funds that are necessary to initiate important programs. And in order to reach out to the general public, we need the media. So all of these different stakeholders need to be embraced in partnerships and cooperation in order to make this work really in the best way.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate this, this clarity on the perspective very much. Now, building on what also Tidiane just said, going from this principle that we somehow have established now in this plenary, can we go to some concrete cases, Czaran, of what we have done that would simply not have been possible without international collaboration? Can we give one or two highlights, things that you think are really striking examples of things that really depended on strong collaboration, just to basically go concrete here?
Yeah, I love this question, and I've been dying for it. For me, I'm going to tell the story of water. Right, we are a water planet. Water is the defining characteristic of our home planet, and in fact, at NASA, when we look for signs of life on other planets, it first amounts to a search for water. Was there water? And to me, the understanding how water moves around our planet is the biggest success story I can point to. I mentioned in my opening comments Topex Poseidon. Well, you know, Topex Poseidon led to the Jason missions, which led to the Sentinel-6 missions. We have been tracking sea level for decades now. And that means we understand what's happening with sea level. Well, that's because all of the water starts in the oceans. That's a very important part of the story. But then when we added SWOT, that gave us a view of how, a much more detailed view of how the water is moving in the oceans, and for the first time, a very detailed view of not just where there is water on land, but how much surface water, and how it's moving. We can even see slopes on rivers. So that series of missions forms this sort of underpinning, but then you add the GRACE series of missions, which allows us to see how water that was stored as ice on land or as groundwater in aquifers, etc., how that water is moving through the system. And then, of course, we can't forget GPM and the precipitation missions, because they're telling us how that massive transportation system of the atmosphere is moving water around the system. Every one of these missions and series of missions came about because of partnership, and then it's that collection of missions that actually tells us the story of how water moves around the planet and how that's changing and what that's going to mean. And then I'll just add one more. One of our most recent, PACE, now allows us to add in high fidelity a view of the quality and the attributes of the water. So to me, this global picture is our greatest success story as a community.
Excellent. I think that deserves a bit of an applause because it's really an achievement. Yeah?
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Paul, CEOS, of course, is built on collaboration by principle. So can you highlight some of the things that the organization has been, or the committee has been able to achieve that really was absolutely, would have been impossible without these tools, these principles, this spirit and this family feeling to work together, you know, for the benefit of our planet?
I think family feeling is a great way to start this. So families don't always agree. Mine doesn't anyhow. But we start from a position of trust and shared endeavour. And Hiro mentioned JAXA's chairship of the strategy and implementation team. NASA have contributed hugely to CEOS over the years and continue to do so, ESA as well. At the moment, the UK Space Agency is playing that role as chair. So at that micro level, one source of the success is this is a growing committee that seeks and achieves its coordination. But to take that one level up, when the UK Space Agency took on the chair role, we were very keen to build on what had gone before and pass forward a useful agenda for whoever comes next, Australia in this case. And so we looked quite carefully at what an appropriate set of priorities would be. And we chose the overall theme of unlocking space, so bringing the benefits to bear. And we looked at that from the point of view of everything from unlocking space for public services, unlocking space for the general public and for schools for the next generation. We looked at unlocking, and continue to look at it for unlocking space from the point of view of the global stocktake. But actually what I wanted to focus in on is how we look at unlocking space for the global methane pledge, because it touches on something you asked previously about multilateral and bilateral. So we're on this absolute cusp of a dozen or more commercial methane missions. The world is changing in how we are going to be looking at facility-level methane emissions. We know we have super emitters, we see them from the maps already. So whether it's institutional missions that will continue to take measurement or whether it's these commercial missions, we'll be able to see the plumes, we already do. But to translate that into science that is accepted and for which we can then seek the mitigation where appropriate, hold people to account, there must be trust in the data. There must be consistency of the calibration, of the validation, because otherwise we build on shifting sands, and frankly, it is too easy to dispute the data while the methane rises. So that's why we've particularly focused on methane, not least recognizing its natural decay cycle as well. And I think it is a success story that we're building on for how we work in the CEOS community.
Excellent. Thanks a lot very much for that. I do not want to repeat this question to everyone, but it's open. So anyone wants to highlight success stories that would not have been possible without deep, profound collaboration with others? Feel free. Anyone? Yes, please.
Maybe I can mention I already gave the example of UN Spider, of course, and I won't repeat that, but there's another very good example, and that's the International Committee on GNSS. That's another one of those committees that kind of came together out of the need that was felt by countries many years ago that they should come together under the UN umbrella and start coordinating, collaborating, discussing interoperability, bringing together these different systems that they were developing. And that's how this ICG, this International Committee on GNSS, was born, and our office is the secretariat for that. There's 8 or 9, I think, countries at this stage developing and operating navigation satellite systems. And for them to discuss the interoperability aspects, the applications, the use cases together was important. In fact, they are also just meeting across the street these next 3 days. So that's another example, I think, that that was, I would say, is worth mentioning under the UN umbrella. And then many of you, again, coming from the disaster management side, many of you probably know the International Charter on Space and Major Disasters. And again, few of you might know that the International Charter, UN Spider, even ICG were actually born in this building in 1999 when our office organized UniSpace 3, the global conference on space, when all the member states of the UN came together, not only the members of the committee of COPUOS. And these ideas came out of that UniSpace 3 conference, including the creation of that International Charter of Space and Major Disasters, where different space agencies decided to partner, come together, and start providing free resources, data, solutions to disaster managers to address the most impactful major disasters around the world. So again, these examples would not, I mean, these partnerships would have, I mean, without partnering, without the countries coming together, these initiatives would have not been possible, and they are still resonating today, and they are very important in how we do our work today.
Thanks a lot also for that example. Yes, Tidiane.
Yeah, I think it is necessary that I make a point here, because Africa is coming in space thanks to the international collaboration. And we need to underline that. I was saying that we were not new, meaning over the last 50 years, Africa undertook the space journey thanks to international relations and support. I would say, for example, we had Puma with the Europeans, we had MSD, we had MESA, and now we are talking about the second phase of GMS and even the third phase. Secondly, we also had Servier from United States, Digital Earth Africa from Australia. You see, and when we look at the bilateral level, we had China, we even had JAXA. We also had many other countries, UK. Africa, the 55 countries, depending on their historical backgrounds, were working either bilaterally or multilaterally. And today, I would say, the result we have in positioning the space in the priorities of the African Union, it's thanks to the international cooperation. And secondly, we also are aware of the fact that it is thanks to this international cooperation that Africa will really, really undertake the journey with successes. What does it mean? We do have some issues at the space law where Africa, that was absent, need to be part of the game. We need to talk to others, to understand, and to make our position. Secondly, I don't believe in the technology transfer. I believe in the knowledge sharing. For the knowledge sharing, we need to learn from others, the pioneers, the best practices, and even the lessons on what to avoid. Therefore, I would say for Africa, and by the nature of the African Space Agency, which is an organ, I repeat, of the African Union, which is an intergovernmental body, international partnership is key. I would say it is instrumental. It is the mechanism for us that will support our existence. Therefore, we have undertaken some initiatives already to strengthen this collaboration, and it is important and critical. Without international relationships, without international collaboration and cooperation, be bilateral or multilateral, for us, African Space Agency will not exist, as well as all space agencies by the nature of space. This is what I said at the beginning of my speech. Let's work together to strengthen each other. Thank you.
Very good message. Thank you very much. Yes, Hiro.
Yes.
So let me introduce about the success story about the ArcCare simulator mentioned. And the ArcCare is the joint mission between the ESA and the JAXA, and the ESA developed the spacecraft bus and the 3 sophisticated instruments, and the JAXA provided the crowd profiling radar. So the ArcCare is now in operation, and produce the very good data, and that data will improve the climate modeling, and more practically improve the weather forecast accuracy. So let me introduce about the success story of the hardware developing. So the ArcCare conceptual study started 20 years ago from now. So it requires 20 years to be launched. So there are many challenges because the ArcCare requires the very cutting-edge technologies. So in the technology regions, we have there are many challenges, and not only the technology, of course the programmatic challenge there are, and we successfully overcome the many challenges between the collaboration between the ESA and the JAXA, and now the ArcCare is in operation successfully. So I'd like to say that during our collaborations, so we fostered the trust or relationship, good relationship. So it is another outcome of the international collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do now is to go a little bit into the less beautiful side of collaboration, maybe if there are challenges, barriers, and so on. And the first question linked to that, and I think I will start with Ariel, actually. So how do we, or how could we better bridge between us as data providers, as space agencies, and the real end user? So do you have examples of things that have turned out to be difficult, lessons that could be learned, or how do we see this challenge? Because we are trying to penetrate into other areas of society where space hasn't necessarily gone before, and I would be surprised if it is all singing and dancing and beautiful from the beginning, right?
Yeah. One of the main barriers towards successful utilization of Earth observation data is maybe the lack of expertise in many sectors. We recognize, for example, in local governments in the Philippines that people are a few, and then they do not have the capability to do the utilization of such data. No? We don't expect them, for example, to process remote sensing data or satellite images, but at the very least, utilize the outputs of those analysis in the forms of maps. No? But we have to work together, and we are now forming partnerships with them at the different levels, with the universities, with the local government units, regional offices, with the mandated agencies, with the CSOs or civil society, and even the private sector. Very important aspect is to involve the private sector, engage the private sector to have the dissemination of such services over wider areas. No? And in that particular aspect, since we are focusing on disseminating not only images, but also data products, maps, and even information and insights, I would like to highlight what ESA and the European Union and Commission is doing in the Philippines. We are implementing the National Copernicus Capacity Portation Program for the Philippines, and the primary goal is to establish the mirror site, the servers that we can easily get the Copernicus Sentinel datasets. And we are co-developing, emphasis on the co-development of monitoring services on land cover, benthic habitat, monitoring coral reefs and coral bleaching, as well as forests, and as well as ground motion. In the Philippines being the #1 riskiest country in terms of disaster, we have to not just contend with floods or do mapping and monitoring of landslides and different disasters, but we also do monitoring of slow onset disaster, including drought, including as well as the ground motion, which might result to different catastrophes. And those will be in place soon with the support of the European Space Agency.
Thank you very much. Karen, NASA, just like ESA, has been thinking a lot about this, obviously. What is your perspective here? How can we better bridge?
Yeah, it is the question of the day.
Yeah.
Because our satellites see the whole Earth. They provide, standard common data. But of course, the challenges that individuals are facing are very, very specific to where they are and when they need the information. So, there's some tension between having scalable data products that can be quickly and broadly produced and disseminated, and tailoring the information with local knowledge of the challenges in the particular circumstances. So that is the challenge of the day. I think the answer there is more collaboration, but a number of my colleagues have already said it. It's with collaboration with people who are not us, right?
Exactly.
And there are many such organizations because, frankly, there's so much demand that we can't have interfaces with all of the individual entities that have demand. We have to have the interfaces with the organizations, the institutions, the people that those people know and already trust, right? So it's a question of creating more strategic partnerships with people, with organizations and institutions that aren't our own.
Mm-hmm.
If you allow me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please. I think here I will shock the space community, scientists mainly. We have to think now, we have to change the paradigm, to shift it. We have to co-create. It is important.
Yes.
We look at this, I would say, on this stage, 90% we are scientists. Where are the others? They are part of the game. Where are the lawyers? Where are the users or end users, depending? They should be part of the dialogue. This is what we did during GMS and Africa, Global Monitoring Environment. The institutionalization is important. The African Union, we took the lead and we said, UMETSAT, ISA, GRC, you have the scientific and technical background. We will engage in different countries, institutions that will be benefiting from the project, to be part of the game from the beginning. You have to build the subject matter from the beginning until the end, not to do something to give to them. You will not engage them. This is why most of the time, scientists of space, we are surprised to see decision makers not supporting our projects. We have to align with their priorities. Beside the policymakers, the politicians, you have the economists. You have many other areas. Let's start the dialogue together. I would suggest that, for example, during the next Living Planet Symposium, when we are talking about international cooperation, we bring those who are talking about the treaties, those who are talking about laws, with scientists. Because when we talk together, we understand each other, and we build the case together. We have more chance to be efficient. The co-creation should be the new word we have to look at together. I'm not saying that it will resolve all the problems, but it will have the advantage to involve the end users and to reduce the risk of the failures. This is my call during this discussion. Let's work with others. They can support us. They can take advantage in knowing what we are doing. This is what the African Space Agency did, meaning African Union did, to be able to establish the African Space Agencies. We knew that the decision will be made by the head of state and government, but they needed to understand to what extent it was useful for them. This is why we started with the African space policy, the African state strategy, space strategy, the policy saying these are the priorities we want to undertake. These strategies, these are the way we want to get there. And they were feeling, and they thought that they are part of the game. And we said, yes, you are even the decision makers. This is where we are today. Thank you very much.
I can promise you that we will take the suggestion on board for the 2028 edition of this symposium. And of course, also, we will look at it before. The issue of what the space agencies can be doing versus, of course, the resources that will be needed to do so is, of course, part of the question, as also Karen said. So maybe, Paul, maybe CEOs also can help here.
Well, let's hope so. I think to build on what Tidiane said and the absolute importance of co-creation, if I flip this on its head and say what the thing to avoid most, and the thing about it is the fallacy of additionality, that because we make the argument as a scientific community strongly enough, if we amplify our voice enough, if we shout, that we will get more. And I come from a background of 20 years in healthcare, and I believe passionately that we could do so much more in healthcare around the world than we do. My background is as a physicist, I'm a scientist, I believe passionately that we can do a lot more in earth science, planetary science, and in cosmology and astrophysics. But that's not the argument to make. No salesperson in history has been successful by hammering the door and shouting louder through the keyhole about the product that they have. But when we change that round and we ask from the perspective of the wide set of decision makers, which includes the local community, who frankly really don't care if it comes from space or whether it comes from Earth, but they want the thing that will drive a difference in their livelihoods, or the people with the money, or whether that's the investor community or the customer community in all its public sector and private sector forms. That, I think, is when we can achieve something. So I think something there that the CEOs can do is to convene the real conversation, but from the spectacle of what is it that we can add from the value that people want, not do we think is most important that we bring.
Thank you very much. Now, Hiro,
Yes.
from a Japan's perspective, do you have examples of things that you have learned from rather than having an immediate success?
Immediate success? Yes. So let me introduce the Karen mentioned about the information is very important. So because we produce the observation data, but the user need the information, specialized information. So let me introduce about the activity of our Sentinel Asia. So the Sentinel Asia is targeting the objective is the disaster monitoring system, and PhilSA and the GISTDA joined the Sentinel Asia. And I'd like to introduce about not only the space community, but also the analysis community joined the Sentinel Asia. So we produce the observation data and the analysis community, for example, the National Institute or university analyze the data and create the information the user needed. So it is a very good, a successful story about not only the space community, but we need the more wide community for the. Yes, thank you.
Very clear. Thank you very much. Now, last round here, Lorant, from the point of view of the UN, what do you think we should do more or less of in order to make sure that we bridge better between where the need is and the type of language that we speak within the space community?
I really think that it's about raising awareness. To be honest, and it's really based on experience, having worked with a lot of the countries that we have been supporting over the years. It's not anymore about, let's say, how those countries might be able to use the data or what they could do with it. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, that might have been an issue. I think right now we see a lot of expertise in almost every country around the world. We have been visiting more than 60 countries in the last 15 years as the UN Spider, just to mention disaster management, and looking at how they use these technologies, what are the gaps, what recommendations can we make to improve that. I really think the biggest problem is awareness. Most of these users on the ground in many institutions are definitely not aware of what data is available where, how they can use it. We have a big problem with the licensing of the commercial data, with doing that in a more efficient way. That's where I think multilateral partnerships are much better than bilateral partnerships. I have to say it also, but that's my personal opinion and position. And through raising that awareness, I think a lot of these issues, these barriers that we talk about, will be slowly resolving. I really think that's our biggest problem today. And I would encourage also space agencies to consult, to discuss with us, because we have that connection on the ground, and we have what you mentioned is difficult to bring we actually have that. We really engage at the ministry level in each country. We consult. Back to also Tidiane's point, we cannot probably bring 100 countries' users here on this stage at the next Living Planet Symposium either, but we as UN have a lot of that input. I mean, we'd like to say, without maybe lacking modesty, that we consulted, we discussed, we've been in those countries, we prepared very concrete reports of what's missing, what could be done. Nobody comes and asks. There's a lot of initiatives starting and new bilateral projects, programs, without looking at what we already know about those gaps. And I think that is where we have to improve. And again, raising the awareness of the users on the ground, to me, is the most important. Just a few months ago, I was in Tonga. The disaster management entity, the Ministry of Lands, they have no information about how to access some of this space data that we so proudly talk about. They don't. We need to improve that, but that means reaching thousands and thousands of people every year on the ground, not only organizing 10, 15 workshops with a few hundred. I think that's a huge challenge. We need to invest a lot more in it, not only in launching new satellites, but also raising awareness of the users on how to use the data from those satellites.
Very clear. Thank you very much. Now, we are slowly coming towards the end of this plenary, but I would not like us to leave without having a last message from people around the table here. So 1 minute maximum, everybody, to basically share with us the #1 message that you would have for the audience, things that could affect progress in collaboration, things that you would like us to do more of, to make sure that all the good work that we have done so far is just a stepping stone for doing more and better in the future. I'd like to start with you, Christian.
Well, if it's one message, I can be very short and say space alone will not save our planet, but I'm not sure that our planet will be able to sustain and continue to thrive without space. So space is important.
Thank you very much. Tidiane, last comment.
Just one word, co-creation. Secondly, let's avoid talking on behalf of other sectors. Multi-sectoral approach, and I like that. Because the African Space Agency, we can say we are an organ of the African Union. Nobody should come in the continent and talk on our behalf. That is the false game. Let's bring everybody. Co-creation. Let's think creating together from the beginning to the end. Only one word, co-creation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ariel, do you share that?
Yep, for the Philippine Space Agency, we focus on communities. So bringing the benefits of space observation to the level of villages, communities, and even the individuals.
Kandasri, one last comment from you on how you see this. One last message for the audience here.
Okay. I think the challenges we face today is not one country challenge, it's a global challenges, climate change, extreme event, is the global that could not be overcome by just one person, one country. So it's the collaboration and international partnerships that would help us to overcome these challenges. Thank you.
Very clear. Thank you. Hiro.
Yes. So my message is working together is essential to tackle the global issues. Thank you.
Over to you, Paul.
We stand on the platform that we collectively built, and that means we can see further than we've ever seen before. The consequence of that is that we can see what could go wrong. But I think it's more important that we see what has gone right and learn from that, and so that we don't take a path that might lead us into darkness, but instead we see space as a beacon of hope.
Very even poetic. Thank you very much, Karen.
I'm gonna expand on hope. I think on any given day, we see tough, challenging headlines. This last week was no different, and to me, international collaboration, coming together with our ideas, our perspectives, our resources, that is the seed of hope for all of us.
Thank you very much. And I believe the last word of this plenary will be for the United Nations, Laurent.
Again, I think there's today 120 or so countries that are non-spacefaring, let's say. There are more users of these technologies, users of this data. I personally am pleased to see the explosion of new satellites, new data coming online. I think this is only growing in the next few years, and I really am excited about that, but we have to bring this data and this technology closer to those users. I think we have to do a lot better job than until now in making that happen because of this diversity and because of the increase of, compared to 20, 30 years ago, it's just amazing. But how do we bring that to those 120 plus countries is remaining, I would say, our biggest focus and concern too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with this, I would like to thank everyone for participating in such a lively way and with clear messages. We were a bit too many in the room to take questions from the audience here, but the panelists are still here. You can approach them once we close here. So to everybody in the audience and online, I would like to ask you to give a big round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Tidiane. I will message you.
And as this is the main topic of the day, I can reassure also that we will continue to work on an international collaboration, and we'll make sure that we will deepen it for the next edition also of this symposium, and much before that. Yeah? And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for participating, for coming here to share with us these 90 minutes. I wish you a nice remainder of the day, and of course, a splendid continuation of this symposium. Thank you very much.